Hello students, welcome to my YouTube channel, and today we will discuss about a famous sonnet of John Milton on his blindness. Let's begin. My dear students, as you can see in the slide, the objectives of our today's topic is, as you can see in the slide, number one, John Milton, his some of his biographical details, his life and some important works of John Milton. Then we'll move to sonnet, which is a form of English poetry, its origin and its types. Then we'll focus on Petrarchan sonnet mainly, which consists of two parts, octave and sestet. We'll come to know about octave and sestet in details, and then we'll discuss about the rhyme scheme of a Petrarchan sonnet, how to find out the rhyme scheme, and what is the fixed rhyme scheme of a Petrarchan sonnet. At the end, we'll discuss particularly about On His Blindness, the text of the poem and its summary. John Milton was born on 9th December 1608 and he died on 8th November 1674. He was an English poet and intellectual. His 1667 epic poem, Paradise Lost, written in blank verse and including over 10 chapters, was written in a time of immense religious flux and political upheaval. It addressed the fall of man. Paradise Lost elevated Milton's reputation as one of history's greatest poets. He also served as a civil servant for the Commonwealth of England and later under Oliver Cromwell. Milton achieved fame and recognition during his lifetime. His celebrated Areopagitica 1644 is among history's most influential and impassioned defenses of freedom of speech and press. He also composed many sonnets. John Milton as a sonnetier. Milton is second only to Shakespeare as a sonnet writer. His total output as a sonnetier is very small, though. He wrote in all 24 sonnets only. Of these, 5 are in Latin. As such, his fame as a sonnetier is based only on 18 English sonnets. Milton as a sonnetier occupies a higher place than any of the Romantic poets. Milton is a belated Elizabethan sonnetier, but he does not imitate the Surrey or Shakespeare model of sonnet. He discards the native verse faithful to the foreign muse. The Petrarchan verse provided him with considerable freedom to modify the old and follow the new metrical structures. His sonnets deal with different subjects such as personal, social, political, and religious. Sonnet is a word derived from Italian word sonetto, which means a little song. Sonnet is a popular form of English poetry, and it originated in Italy in 13th century. Many Italian poets wrote these short poems, but it was made famous by Petrarch especially. And as far as the introduction of sonnet in English language is concerned, it was introduced in England by Sir Thomas Watt and Earl of Surrey at the beginning of the 16th century. But it was made famous in English language by none other than William Shakespeare. So sonnet is a short poem strictly of 14 lines, and it has a fixed rhyme scheme as well. Sonnets are of two kinds. Number one, Petrarchan sonnet, and the second is English sonnet. First, we will look at Petrarchan sonnet. The Petrarchan sonnet, also known as the Italian sonnet, is a sonnet named after the Italian poet Francesco Petrarca, although it was not developed by Petrarch himself, but rather by a string of Renaissance poets. Because of the structure of Italian, the rhyme scheme of the Petrarchan sonnet is more easily fulfilled in that language than in English. The original Italian sonnet form consists of a total 14 lines. In English sonnets, iambic pentameter is used in two parts, the first part being an octave and the second being a sestet. The octave introduces a problem or conflict in the mind of the speaker in the first four lines, known as the first quatrain. The next quatrain or the next four lines explains the problem or provides an exposition to the reader. Thus, these 8 lines are called octave. The sestet means the last 6 lines begins with a volta, which marks the change in rhyme scheme as well as the change of the conflict into a solution or some form of resolution. The second type of sonnet is English sonnet. Shakespeare's sonnets are considered a continuation of the sonnet tradition that swept through the Renaissance from Petrarch in 14th century Italy and was finally introduced in 16th century England by Watt and was given its rhyming meter and division into quatrains by Henry Howard. But Shakespeare's sonnets introduce such significant departures of content that they seem to be rebelling against well-worn 200-year-old traditions. Instead of expressing worshipful love for an almost goddess-like yet unobtainable female love object, as Petrarch, Dante and Sidney had done, Shakespeare rather introduces a young man. He also introduces the dark lady who is no goddess. Shakespeare explores themes such as lust, homoeroticism, misogyny, infidelity and acrimony in ways that may challenge but which also open new terrain for the sonnet form. The sonnets are almost all constructed of 3 quatrains, 4-line stanzas followed by a final couplet. The rhyme scheme is ABAB, CDCD, EFEF and GG. Sonnets using these scheme are known as Shakespearean sonnets, English sonnets or Elizabethan sonnets. And with this, we come to our today's poem, When I Consider How My Light Is Spent, which is sonnet number 19, composed by John Milton, and it is famous as On His Blindness as well. So here is the text. You can read the text at your own. And with this, my dear students, in this slide, you can see the first 8 lines of the poem, and as we have already discussed, that this consists of the first part of any Petrarchan sonnet, which is considered as the octave, and which shows the problem or the complaint running in the mind of the speaker. The rhyme scheme of this octave is ABBA, ABBA. In this slide, you can see the last 6 lines of our poem, and these 6 lines together consists the second part of any Petrarchan sonnet, the second part which is also known as sestet. And as we have already discussed, in this part, the speaker presents a solution. The rhyme scheme of sestet is CDE, CDE. Now we come to the summary of the poem. This poem was written in 1655, 3 years after Milton became completely blind, and was marked by a brooding sense of despondency arising out of his blindness. It was written when Milton was in his 44th year. The poem can be divided into 2 parts. In the first half of the poem, he expresses his sadness at the loss of his eyesight. He finds himself alone in this dark and wide world. God has given him the talent of writing poetry. This gift is lying useless within. He is expressing his unhappiness about the fact that the best part of his life would go waste without producing any work of creative importance. It is like death for him to hide his talent. He fears that God will rebuke him for not using his talent because he wants to serve God with this gift. He grumbles against God and he thus raises the question of the justness of God's ways to man in relation to his own loss of sight. He foolishly asks himself whether God demands work from him, although the God has made him blind. Thus the first half of the poem reflects the poet's mood of sadness and murmuring. Now we come to the next part of the poem, which is sestet. However, the second part of the poem expresses Milton's feeling of resignation and his undiminished faith in God's justice. He accepts total submission to the will of God. The poet's inner faith consoles him and stops his murmur. He realizes that God does not need anyone's praise or work. Those who bear the duties given by God served him best. God only wants complete faith in him. Those who patiently serve God and wait for his orders are also his true servants. This sonnet teaches us to be content with our lot in life and also that it is man's duty to stand in readiness to serve God without any complaint or protest. And with this, we come to the conclusion. Let us sum up. In today's topic, you must have learnt about John Milton, his life, some important works, sonnet, its origin and types, and particularly about Petrarchan sonnet, its two parts, octave and sestet, the rhyme scheme of Petrarchan sonnet, and in particular about the text and the summary of the poem on his blindness. Thank you for being a part of this video. Thanks.